Okay, so you've got some money to buy something expensive and nice, and you want to get a vintage piece.
Okay.
We have lots of people that ask us our opinions and advice, and like I think we're pretty much 100% agreement on nothing, but on this we're pretty close. So it's be like, hey, should I get a vintage acoustic or should I get a vintage electric? I feel like if you're just doing it for an investment, and it's not if you're playing at all, 100% get the electric. It's
Agreed.
And like we can get into the reasons for why, but let's just break down like acoustics. We love them, but like the main reason is the maintenance.
Yes.
The temperature control, the ideas of how many problems can go wrong with these guitars, and it's tougher to keep them safe.
Yes.
And the general nature of an acoustic is it is sort of degrading over time if there are strings on it. Always, just slowly. It's just that pressure. You have a lot of weight and tension on that guitar. It's always pushing it. Whereas an electric is that solid slab. It's going to survive a lot longer.
Right.
So I mean, like, what do you think? Would you do the same thing?
I think so. I mean, if I'm literally just buying a guitar that I can put in a case and slide on the bed and hopefully it makes money for me,
I know.
You got to go with an electric.
Now, we're not recommending this as your savings.
Forget the stock market, buy guitars.
Or buying cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really working for Derek, though. It's frustrating. Yeah, it's tricky, because we deal in both a lot, but it's definitely in the vintage electric guitar market is it's a lot more volatile, but it's also it's fun.
It is fun.
It's definitely like the people involved in it are a lot of fun.
Yep.
It's not just you're not just dealing in old Martins. That's pretty much your vintage acoustic
Right.
market is old Martins. There's other things
Old
obviously.
Gibsons, but yeah. But
I'm sorry, I forgot the Gibsons, but the old Martins are like
that other guitar brand.
like, what about the vintage Taylors? I'm like, well, I don't know. That's not vintage. I'm not going to 75. It's like that's vintage. I'm like,
One day maybe.
It's getting there. And there's some really good ones. Like there's a lot of people who go after those 90s Taylors, like Sharks.
Yeah,
those like
true.
90s 900 series.
Right.
Like the if you have like a grand concert on
Yep.
like the 900s with the beautiful inlays and all the works,
Yep.
awesome. But anyway, electric guitars, your options are sort of limitless.
Right.
You've got like obviously the Fenders and Gibsons, but then you have all the little variations within those lines themselves, and you can get into it for a lot less money.
Yes.
And really have future earning potentials too. It's and like we've talked about this before, buy like some of the offsets, buy the odd ones as far as great investments. Even the 70s pieces are really starting to skyrocket. But yeah, I've found the idea of when I invest my own money into vintage gear, I definitely lean towards electric.
Yeah.
It's and I can play them. And not worry about it.
I mean, that really is sort of true. You really can find electric guitars that have just been sitting forever that are fine. That's hardly ever true on an acoustic guitar.
And I mean, the one caveat I would say, like in this, is you have to buyer beware of counterfeits.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to counterfeit an electric guitar,
Right.
in particular a Fender bolt-on type neck style.
Yeah.
So, because and you don't even know if like the neck's the same neck or it might be an original body. The pickups might be fakes. Acoustics is a lot tougher. When you're looking at vintage, there's
Right.
the Chipsons that are out there right now, and all the sort of overseas like sort of forgeries that are not even attempting to be anything else. Those have gotten really good, but vintage wise, it's still hard to fake that. It's because it's hard to fake that mildew smell in an old Gibson. And they haven't really nailed that one out yet. But it's yeah, it's definitely it's a concerning part when you enter the electric guitar world. And even we talked about with our friends out there on the line, like that the Irish gentleman over there who he had his bad experience buying the vintage Les Paul, and like just because the tuners were not original, and like I think the shop even goofed up
Right.
on that one. They say they didn't. I don't. That's not our job to worry about that. But it's just it's fascinating. Just like one small detail like that can change your investment entirely. Yeah. And with electric guitars, it's very tricky. There's all sorts of moving parts.
Right. Pickups, pots, all kinds of random things that affect the value.
But at the same point, it's so much easier than acoustic guitars. So if I have a chance to get a 64 Strat versus, let's go like some of the, not the pre-war Martins, because like, you're not getting into it for that same price range.
No,
usually.
it's way up there. Yeah.
But Okay, let's just go to let's even go to a higher, let's get down to the earlier Strats, maybe in the 54s.
Okay.
And that's going to get us a little bit higher priced up.
Yeah.
That might get us into that pre-war range. It's tricky. I feel like there's still more of the market is wider for electric buyers. The nostalgic aspect of the electric market sort of is much more expansive than the particular pre-war Martin is a much more niche.
Right.
I'm obsessed with it, and I have a 41, but I don't have anything predating that. It's
Do you think there's something about the fact that sort of, let's say you've got a pre-war Martin,
yes,
it's sort of either intact or it's not.
It's in shambles.
Right. But if you've got, I mean, obviously people could have restored it or reset the neck or whatever, but if you got an early 50s Strat, there's so many things that could have been done to keep it playable, and you know what I mean. Like there's so many. Did we refret it? Did we put new pickups in? Did we rewire it? You know.
And that's kind of a neat point. So refret doesn't always negatively affect the guitar.
Right.
In some, if you want it to be a player, like a player, to be able to actually put your hands on it, because we've sold many vintage guitars where the frets are, the vintage frets are vintage frets, and your hand falls off the guitar sometimes. Whoop.
Yeah, let's didn't get it off.
I've had to readjust it. I'm not a refretter. I don't mind small frets.
Right.
Because I play very daintily and gingerly. I'm not a heavy player. People are like, when do you get your guitars refretted? I've never had a guitar refretted my entire life.
Me though.
Until later, every 2 weeks.
That's right.
I was like, I need a refret.
Time for a refret.
You just bought the guitar a week ago. Sometimes, I think you just like to get because you'll change. You get a new pair of shoes every couple weeks too.
Just like that.
You and Derek and your fancy. What are those shoes you guys wear?
We're going Vans today.
Yeah, Vans. I mean, I always wear Sauconys or Sauconys, however you want to pronounce it. And I buy 3 at a time, and then I wear one pair until it falls apart, and then I bring out the other one.
It's true.
And I wear that until that's my sort of shoe.
I've been waiting on this pair, this color.
This color. My yellow and whites and turquoise, whatever color that is. They came out. I've had them for a year, but the other ones just finally died. They're over there getting ready to go to the crypt. But anyway, so let us know your experiences and what your thoughts are. We love everything vintage. We're just trying to give a little bit of what we think is maybe a safer, easier. Yeah.
Less maintenance required.
And just where the return on your investment might be greater, again, without the fear and risk of your investment just shattering.
Yeah.
Because just like cryptocurrency might do. So maybe it's going through the roof right now. But then when this video comes out, in a day or so, we'll see what's happening.
Yeah.
Or you watch this a year from now, it's cryptocurrency. I'm a billionaire from that. Derek doesn't even have to work here anymore. He's just he has a yacht. Jerk.
He'd take us with him. He'd miss us.
He and his fancy European wife or wives at that point. I hate him. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. I'm out.
Hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you don't miss videos in the future. Thanks for hanging out with us.